All right, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Devlin. I'm a real estate broker, and this is how to launch a successful real estate career. And if you have any questions, well, I'll talk about that at the end. You'll have an opportunity to either ask the questions or set up a time to answer questions and meet with me on an individual basis. And what we're going to be doing today, is talking about a couple of subjects. One of them is why real estate and why now. What I mean by that is you're willing to take time off on a day to participate in, well, let's just say something like this. It's usually because you're looking for something new, something different, hopefully better in your business or professional life. I'm assuming that's why you're here. And if you're looking to do something different or better in your business or professional life, why would you get into real estate? What do you need to do to be successful? How much money can you really make? And is now really a good time to do that at all? Right? We're gonna talk about that. Another topic would be how to choose an office to affiliate with. There's different kinds of real estate offices. They operate and are structured differently, and we'll look at some of the differences between them to maybe help you make a decision as to which kind of office would be best for you. And then finally, in how to get started, we're going to talk about what do you need to do to get a real estate license, how long does this whole process take, and how much does all of this cost? I hope that sounds close enough to what you wanted to hear, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. So let's start with the topic of why real estate. And I'd like to begin with going over a few definitions. You've probably heard the term real estate broker or real estate salesperson. Those two terms refer to two different kinds of real estate licenses. You could get a real estate broker's license, or you could get a real estate salesperson's license. In many ways, the two licenses are pretty much the same. In other words, if you have a real estate salesperson's license, you can do everything that the broker can do, with two exceptions. Right? If you have a real estate salesperson's license, you can do everything the broker can do with two exceptions. One is be independent. Brokers can be independent. Salespeople have to work for brokers. Brokers don't have to work for brokers. They can be independent. The other thing that you could do with a broker's license is, well, you could brag about it. You could tell everybody that you've got the advanced license, the graduate license, the executive license. Most people have no idea what you're talking about, nor do they, particularly care. So in order to become a real estate broker, however, you need 2 years full-time experience in real estate or 4 years part-time experience in real estate within the last 5 years. And you have to take some other courses and pass a different exam. We're not talking about that tonight. So we're going to focus on how to become a real estate salesperson, because that's where, you're going to have to start. Then there's the word agent. The word agent is really a different kind of word, because it really shows a relationship. So for agency to exist, you have to have at least 3 parties. You have to have a principal who hires another person, the agent, to represent that principal in dealings with third parties. No third party, no agency. Now, the way this sometimes comes up is somebody will say to me, well, if I get a real estate license and I like to buy a house for myself or my family, can I be my own agent? Right? I've been asked that question many times, and technically, legally, the answer is no. No, you can't be your own agent, because by definition, an agent represents somebody else. If you're representing yourself in a real estate transaction, you're a principal, you can't be an agent. Now, that was an accurate and technically correct answer to the question, can I be my own agent? But I also realized that that's not really the question they were asking me. Right? The question they were really asking me was, if I get my real estate license and I'd like to buy a house for myself or my family, can I save money on the commission? That's really the question they were asking, and the answer is yes. Not because you're the agent in the transaction, you're not, you're a principal, but because you're a licensee. And when we use the term licensee, we're referring to anybody that has a real estate license. It could be a real estate broker's license, it could be a salesperson's license, and through that professional connection, right, that professional status, you can save money on the commission. And then finally, the word realtor. The word realtor is a copyrighted designation of the National Association of Realtors, which is a trade association, which is sort of like a union, right? It's kind of a lot like a union, and it's like the Teamsters Union. So for those of you that are not aware, the Teamsters Union is a union you might join if you were going to be a truck driver. Now, the question is, if you want to be a truck driver, do you have to join the Teamsters Union? The answer is no, right? What do you need? Legally, you're not required to join the union. What do you legally need in order to drive a truck commercially? Well, you need the license, right? If you have the license, you can drive the truck. But you might choose to join the union. And the reason you might join the union is there's some jobs you're not going to get unless you're a member of the union, and there are benefit packages and retirement and training, and they got stuff, right? So our union is called the Association of Realtors. Do you have to join the Association of Realtors to sell real estate? The answer is no. No, all you need is a real estate license, but you might choose to do so, particularly if you're selling residential property, 1 to 4 unit. We'll talk more about that later. So what can you do if you get a real estate license? Well, you can do residential real estate. You probably already knew that you could help people buy and sell homes and get paid a commission when they do it. The same is true for commercial real estate. I've had many people say to me, I don't want to sell houses. I don't want to go to people's homes. I don't want to drive around on the weekends. I don't want to do any of that. Business to business, that's all I want to do. Commercial real estate. How do I get a commercial real estate license? And the answer is there's no such thing. There's no such thing. There's just a real estate license. And if you have a real estate license, you can sell residential, you can do commercial real estate, and you can do loans. Now, you have to get your license endorsed. It's called a MLO, a mortgage loan originator, and get licensed with the National Mortgaging Licensing System, the NMLS. And by the way, I have a workshop called, it's Real Estate 102, how to become a successful loan agent. You'll all get a link to that in a follow-up email at some point, but it's a different, you could do that with a real estate license. You could do loans. Property management, if you don't own it or live in it, you need to have a real estate license to manage it, and management means finding tenants and negotiating leases and collecting payments and dealing with all the things that go on when you're managing property. And a business opportunity is when we're selling a business, but we're not actually selling real property. So for example, you're buying a hardware store, a local hardware store, Harry's Hardware. Well, it's likely that Harry, even though he owns the hardware store, doesn't own the building and doesn't own the land. So when you're buying Harry's Hardware from Harry, you're not buying real property. It's a form of personal property. And yes, you could sell that too and get paid a commission with a real estate license. Mostly what we're going to talk about is residential, a teensy bit about commercial. If you're interested in loans, I have a separate session just devoted to that. So ways of having a real estate license, of holding it. You can work for a broker, or you could not work for a broker, but you kind of need a broker. Now, the reason for this slide is I've had many people say to me over the years, I want to get into real estate. I've always wanted to be in real estate. People tell me I'd be great at real estate, but I really don't know what I plan to do. Right? I don't know who I want to work for, and I don't really know any of that. Is it possible for me to get a real estate license without figuring all that stuff out in advance? And the answer is yes. You can go and get a real estate license and not have a broker, not activate it, right? And your license is in what's called a non-working status with the Department of Real Estate in California, a non-working license. Now, a non-working real estate license is a lot like a non-working car, right? Your friends are over and you show them the car in the garage and they like it and they think it's cool and they sit in it, and then they say, hey, can we go for a ride? And you have to say, well, no, it's not a working car, right? So you can go get a real estate license and not have a broker, but it's not a working real estate license, right? You can show it to people. You just can't do anything for and earn a commission without activating it with a broker, right? But you can get the license in advance. Why are people interested in real estate? Well, one big one is freedom and independence. It was a long time ago, but I used to work for a strange, odd company, right? And what was so weird about this company is they told all of us what time we had to be at work each day. I mean, it was like they had some sort of a rule that everybody had to show up at a particular time, right? And then they'd tell us when we could go on a break and when was lunch and when lunch was over and when we could go home. I believe that arrangement is called a job, right? I think that's what that's called, a job, you know, the journey of the broker. Well, being in real estate is not like having a job, right? We're not going to call you at 10 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, where are you? What are you doing? You're an independent contractor. It's much more like having your own business than actually having a job. And in fact, our relationship with the associates we work with is not an employer-employee arrangement. It's much more like a business consultant or a business advisor and a business owner. You understand? There's freedom and independence. Now, this, by the way, can be a disadvantage of being in real estate, right? It's like the guy at the tech company when the newbie asked him, how long have you worked here? And the guy said, wow, ever since they threatened to fire me, you know, that's how long I've been working. And you may have met people like that where they work just enough so they don't get fined, right? And then the company usually pays them just enough so they don't quit, right? They work out this sort of sick relationship there. Well, I'm going to say it plainly, real estate is a non-salaried, commission-only profession. Non-salaried, it can be a high-paying, hard job, and it can be a very low-paying, easy one. Financial rewards. How much money can you make selling real estate? I'm going to go through some other examples, but to give you a sort of a middle-of-the-road one, let's say you were to sell an $800,000 house. Now, depending on where you are, that either is very little or an awful lot, right? In Santa Clara County, the median price is like 1.3. So anyhow, a lot of homes sell for more than that, 800,000. The amount of commission that would typically be paid on the sale of an $800,000 house would probably be at least 20 to 25%. Let's go with $20,000, right? Not percent, $20,000 gross commission. Now, and what I'm talking about is one side of the transaction, right? Let's say you represented a buyer and the buyer bought an $800,000 house. The gross commission could be about $20,000. So if you were to sell, I don't know, one house a month, right? In 1 year, you found 6 people that wanted to sell their home and 6 people that wanted to buy a home, and they were all $800,000 homes, and $20,000 was the gross commission on each one. You would have grossed $240,000, right? $240,000 from selling one house a month. Now, if you sold a house a week, well, you can sort of do the math. And if you're in an area where the median price is $1 million and not 800,000, well, you see where I'm going with this. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later when we get into some of the surveys as to how much do real estate agents actually kind of make, how much. One of the other things about real estate is the investment opportunity that comes with it. You might be thinking, I wouldn't know how to spend $240,000. I'm sure that's what you were thinking. Well, one of the things that you could do with the money is invest in real estate. There's an old saying, buy land, they're not making any more of it. And I think most people would understand that having real estate investments is a pretty good way to have security when you retire. And if you want to be a real estate investor, being in real estate is a good place to be. You find out about properties before other people do, and they come on the market. You know more about financing options and whether the market is going up and down. You're in a better spot than most people. And security. What I mean by security is, well, as an example, I had a friend who went to San Jose State, studied mechanical engineering, right? Graduated, went to work for Hitachi in their hard drive division. 28 and a half years later, they laid him off. And they said it was not personal, nothing personal. right? And he knew it really wasn't personal because they shut down the department, the division, they closed the whole plant, right? And moved it someplace else, right? Now, I'm not saying he was a perfect engineer, but even had he been a perfect engineer, he still would have lost his job. Because it wasn't that they decided that he wasn't doing a good job. They decided we don't need anybody to do the job here anymore. So the thing about real estate is because you're an independent contractor and because it's like having your own business, you can be bad at it. You can fail at it, but you can't really get fired. If you don't get along with us, you could take your license and go and work for somebody else. If you don't get along with anyone, you just have to tough it out for 2 years and then go get your broker's license, and then you don't have to be around anyone, which I'm not sure how that's all going to work. You understand there's some security in knowing that you have control over whether or not you're going to be in business or not. So ways of approaching the real estate business. One of the starter rungs of the ladder is what is an unlicensed finder. So unlicensed finders are typically people that have heard something like this or have enrolled in the real estate school that are in the process of getting licensed, and they know of somebody that's interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. And you're not allowed to be involved in the transaction, but it's legal under most circumstances to pay a finder's fee, right? Which could be a percentage of the transaction. We could talk about that. So you don't need a license. You can't get involved in the transaction. It's not like you can go out marketing and looking for people, but if you know somebody that's interested in buying, selling, or investing, you can get something as a result. Then there are the agents that are licensed, but they're referral only. And what that means is they don't want to join the multiple listing service. They don't want to join the board of realtors, the union, and I'll explain later why. There's an investment, let's just say, in joining those organizations. So they just want to have a license and then refer business to somebody who is a member of the different associations. Now, the difference between an unlicensed finder and a referral agent is that the referral agent is a licensee and can solicit business, can negotiate, can get involved in the transaction. There's also the investor agent. The investor agent typically has another job. It might be investing, but they typically have other jobs. The reason they're getting into real estate is more to put themselves in a better position to make their own investments rather than being a full-time real estate agent. But then they wouldn't mind selling somebody a house, particularly if they were getting $20,000. There's then the dual career agent, also known as the part-time agent. And these are people that have other jobs or other commitments at least, and they can only devote maybe 20 hours a week at most to being in real estate. There's two kinds of the part-time agents. There's the transitional part-time agent, which is somebody who wants out of what they're doing now. And so it's like, show me what I need to do so I'm making enough money so I can quit that lousy job. There are other people that don't want to quit their job. That's where we get our insurance, and I don't want to quit. That's where I'm meeting everybody that wants to sell real estate. I just want to do this part-time. Is that okay? Yeah, that's also okay. And then there are full-time agents. And when we go through and see what some of those people are making over time, they're making oftentimes substantial amounts of money. These are people that are devoting 40 hours a week or more to the business of real estate. And then big-time agents. And big-time agents create teams, and the teams might be regional, they might be statewide. I have somebody in San Diego. You can have people in other states, right, that are all part of your team, and it's a big thing, right? It's a big thing. I said that well, right? Anyhow, big-time agents. So an unlicensed finder in California is allowed to introduce parties. They can refer people to others, but they can't take part in negotiations discussing price, property, terms, conditions of the transactions. That's what California law says. The referral only agents are people who don't want to join the multiple association of realtors or the MLS. That's because there's money involved in that, but they can refer business and can be involved in the transaction. Now, full-time agents, some of the challenges are, first of all, this is sales. Now, what sales, professional selling means is that you're essentially paid for talking to people. You're paid to have conversations with other people who might be interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. And the more people you talk to, the more likely you are to get paid. If you talk to some people about real estate, you'll get paid some. But if you talk to a lot of people about real estate, well, you can get paid a lot, right? It's a function of how many people you talk to. Who do you talk to? Well, you start by talking to the people you know because you know them. And somebody that you know or somebody that they know might be interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate. But then you would talk to people you don't know because you might not know enough people to make a career just out of talking to them. And we can discuss the different ways you could talk to them, and it's a long list of possible people. You might need 6 months of reserves if this is your major only source of income. And that's because, let's say you got licensed today and you know somebody that wants to buy a house, and it's going to take a while before they talk to the lender and get all of that straightened out. And then they're starting to look for properties, and then you're writing offers, and then you're in contract, and then it's going to take 30 to 45 days to close, and then you get paid, right? You understand? And if you don't find somebody right away, if it's 30 days before you have a client, you understand it could take that long. Now, having said that, I've hired an agent in June, did an open house, which I helped her find, met somebody at the open house that wanted to buy the house that was being held open, and she got her first commission check at the end of July. Right now, I'm not saying that's normal. I'm saying, though, that's possible. The other thing you have to know is that residential real estate agents work evenings and weekends, right? Because that's when the clients are oftentimes available. This is also why it's possible to do it part-time, because while you're working is when your clients are working, and when you're not working is when they're generally not working. How do you feel about working evenings and weekends, right? If you don't want to do that, you have to talk to me about commercial real estate. But residential real estate, we work evenings and weekends. You got to make hay, as they say, when the sun shines. You have to be a self-starter, right? There's nobody watching over you in the sense that they're looking to see when did you show up to work, or they're timing what you're doing. You have to have motivation to do this. And that's not a salaried position, right? It's commission only, and it's going to require some startup capital in order to get involved into the business. And I'll go through what those numbers are a little bit later. So what do you need to succeed? A goal would be good, right? I'd like to close 12 transactions, right, in a year. We would then help you devise a plan for how many people would you need to contact in order to get an appointment, and how many appointments do you need in order to close a transaction, in order to do, let's say, 12 transactions a year. You would need training on what to do, what to say, coaching, mentoring, to help drag you through the transactions. And there are certain tools and systems that make it go a lot smoother if you're involved in real estate. What would a real estate agent's schedule look like? Now, this is just one of thousands of examples you can find on the internet, but they're all pretty much similar in that we're talking about lead preparation, lead generation preparation. Lead generation means doing things to get appointments, right? Talking to people such that we could end up with an appointment. Preparing for that, lead generation itself is the actual talking to people, communicating with them. Servicing means reading the emails and the text messages, responding to all that. Lead conversion means following up with the people that you've talked to in the past. More servicing, listing appointments, showing property. That's sort of, that's a lot, with training and other things thrown in along the side. As a general overall rule, for traditional real estate companies, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute, the higher the commission split to you as an agent, the fewer the services that they provide. There are companies that pay 100% commission. 100%. In other words, if you sold a house and it was $20,000 as the gross commission, you'd get $20,000. Does that sound great? 100%. Wow, that's great. How do they keep their lights on at night? You know, I mean, really, when you think about it, how do they keep their lights on at night? If I had a shoe store and the shoes cost $100 and I paid the salesperson $100 to sell the shoes for $100, something's going on, right? I must have something going on in the back room I don't want people to see, because how do you make money? And the answer is, well, they charge fees. They charge monthly fees and they charge fees, right? So, and then they don't do anything to help you because it's 100%. What do you expect? So one of the things that I like to go over are, broadly speaking, the different kinds of real estate offices or companies that you could work for. And there are a lot of variations within these. They sort of blend together. There's some in the middle, but this would be good for a general, understanding. There is the small independents. And, I'm affiliated with an office called Real Estate Solutions. It's a small independent. Then there are national franchises. In other lives, I've worked for Century 21 for a long time. And I spent 7 years at Keller Williams, right? Keller Williams is an example of a national franchise. And then there are cloud brokerages. And I'm affiliated with a cloud brokerage called eXp Realty, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but it's in the cloud. What's the difference between the two? Well, the independent generally doesn't have any monthly fees to work there. Many offices have desk fees or technology fees or training fees or something. Errors and emissions insurance fees, they have monthly fees. The little independent, no monthly fees. The big national franchise usually have large monthly fees. Typical Keller Williams offices in our area, you could be paying between a low of $135, but usually it's like over $200 a month. Some of them are over $300 a month just to work that. Right? Then the cloud brokerages have lower monthly fees. Not no monthly fees, but much lower than the fees that you'd find at the national franchise. For example, $85 a month would be the monthly fee for eXp Realty, and that includes a lot more stuff, which we'll talk about. The little independent, you get what you pay for. They got no monthly fees and they got no real technology. Now, I'll explain what I mean by technology in a minute, but the national franchises would have mid-level technology, but the cloud brokerage would have high-level technology. What kind of technology are we talking about? Well, let's start with something obvious, a website. Right now, how important is a real estate agent to have a website? Well, it depends. Right? In the old days, that's where people would go to find homes for sale. But nowadays, people have heard of Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com. They have an app on their phone, right? So who goes to your web page? Well, maybe somebody might go just to look to see if you had one, right? But, not necessarily as big of a deal as it would be in other circumstances. Like, for example, let's say you're working the luxury home market. Right now, those sellers are more likely to want to see that you have a better than average web page, right? But buyers generally don't use it. It's not necessarily a big deal. Can you create your own web page for little to nothing? The answer is yes. Google Sites would allow you to create a free website. There's Wix and there's Squarespace and there's other low-cost ways of creating a website. The other part of the technology is taking what happens on the website and putting it into a customer relationship management program, which sends follow-up emails and things like that. Many people don't even use that, but that's something that's also you're not going to get at the little independent. The national franchise, like Keller Williams or Century 21, and by the way, the company, I'm going to talk more about this, that owns Century 21, also owns Coldwell Banker and Sotheby's and ERA and Better Homes and Gardens and Cochrane Group and a bunch of other companies. But that's so all of those companies sort of Sotheby's falls into this category, as does Berkshire Hathaway and Keller Williams. And they give what I would call mid-level technology. Do you get a website? The answer is yes. It's sort of a plain little website, right? People can search for homes, but they usually use Zillow anyhow. It looks like everybody else's kind of website. It just sort of sits there. Now, those websites, although you can show people, hey, I got a website, generally do not generate business, right? The idea that you just have a website and people are going to find it somehow and buy a house through you from it, that's not really much of a thing for one of these plain little websites. And I refer to those websites as a Swiss Army knife, right? Because they have a little bit for buyers and a little bit for sellers and a place to search for homes and a place to, I mean, you know, it's just sort of, they all look pretty much the same. Now, the cloud brokerage, because of the refocusing of money, right? Because they don't have the brick and mortars, have much higher level technology. Now, what I would mean by that is having a plain little website is generally not going to generate any leads. In order to get leads from the internet, you have to have what are called landing pages, also known as squeeze pages, also known as lead magnets, which are specialized kinds of pages that you can create and push out on the internet, and that people will ask for something or do something or interact with it, and then they go into a follow-up system that follows up with them and reminds you about what to do. Right? That's way beyond what you get at a typical national office. Right? It'll do a little bit of that, but it doesn't have the landing pages, the lead magnets. It doesn't have all that stuff, but you can get that from the cloud brokerage. The little independent could have generally good splits and no cap. And what a cap means is that if you're on a higher split of a little independent, you pay the office something forever, right? You never get to what's called 100%. That's what we mean by capping. In a year, you get to 100% commission. The national franchises generally have lower commission splits. Some of them have caps, like at Keller, at the Keller Williams, one of the ones I worked at, the cap was 33,000. At other of them, it was 45. And what that means is that once the office had gotten 33,000 from your commissions, 33,000, you didn't have to pay them anymore for the rest of that year, but each year it would reset. Cloud brokerages, because they don't have the brick and mortar leases and all of that overhead, have higher splits, right? More technology, but they pay the salesperson a higher percentage of the commission, and the cap, when do you get to 100%, is much, much lower. For example, at $16,000. If you join a team, it can be as low as $8,000. Remember, Keller Williams is like 33, and some of them are over 40. Training, you could get in the office should have has training. You know, at the independent, the Board of Realtors has training, the multiple listing service has training, but you know, the little offices generally don't have more than that. The national franchises, the big offices have mid-level training, which is like a 30-day spin dry kind of a program. You go through it, you know, they stamp you and send you out. And that's pretty much it, 1 month of, you know, training. Some have more, but I'm just speaking in general. And the cloud brokerage has way more training. EXP has more than 50 hours a week of live classes, a lot of recorded classes. There's lots of training and training and training. Again, because they don't have the brick and mortar, they can invest more in that. Independent offices, they don't have revenue or profit share, which means your only way of making money is from the commissions, not from the growth of the business. Some of the national companies have some sort of a profit sharing program. I'm in I'm in the top 1% of lifetime Keller Williams profit share earners. It's not very much. But the cloud brokerages have something called revenue share, which isn't based on profits, because it's hard to know if the office is telling you the truth about their profits, but it's based upon gross revenue of people that you introduce. If you get like a referral fee, if you introduce another agent to EXP, pays a whole lot better. That's only available at that level at cloud brokerages. A little independence, no stock options, no stock, right? National franchises, no stock. Right? It's difficult to buy into that. They don't give you stock options. However, cloud brokerages have programs. I'm in a program where 5% of all the commissions that I earn at EXP goes to buying stock at a 10% discount. When you reach certain levels of production, they give you stock. Independent, little independent, high flexibility. You can do loans, you can do commercial real estate, it's very flexible. The big national franchise is not very flexible. Many of them will not allow you to do commercial real estate. They won't necessarily allow you to do loans. They got a lot more limits because, they're a big company. And the cloud brokerage is maybe not as flexible as the little independent, but way more flexible than the national franchises. You can do commercial, you can do residential. There's a lot more things that you could do. There's a lot more options. So who fits under which category? Well, let's say you're a part-time referral only agent or an investor agent, and you don't want to pay any monthly fees. You don't care about the website. You don't care about special software. You're going to use your phone. You just want to do it as cheap as possible. That's the independent. The national franchise is really only for those. This is for that feel the need for a brick and mortar location that they can go to, and I'll talk more about that and whether or not that's really important. Cloud brokerages like EXP are for agents that are comfortable working in the cloud and have big goals. In other words, if you're really serious about selling a lot of real estate, the cloud brokerage is going to be way better. They have more tools, more systems, more training, more options, and you just have to be comfortable working in the cloud. All right, cool. So this is who's worth more. Hilton Hotels, which as you know, has a lot of hotels worldwide, has a market capitalization. That's the value of their stocks. I looked at this a little while ago, and it was 30.87 billion. That's with the B there. Airbnb at the same time has a market capitalization of 88 billion plus some change. And Airbnb doesn't own buildings, doesn't have all these rooms all over the world, but is worth more than 2.5 times more than Hilton Hotels. Now, if you look in real estate, so where I'm going with that, by the way, is that many of the cloud-based companies are worth more than the brick and mortar stores. Like Airbnb is worth a lot more than Hilton Hotels. In real estate, there's a company called Realtors, and you may not have ever heard of them before, but you probably have heard of their brands. They own Better Homes and Gardens and Century 21, Coldwell Banker Commercial, Sotheby's, ERA. NRT stands for the National Realty Trust, which owns a whole bunch of little offices. The Cochrane Group, TRG is a title company, and Cartus is a big company that does relocation. The market capitalization, the value of all the stocks of Realty is 1.51 billion. RE/MAX. Now, we don't know the market capitalization of Keller Williams. Keller Williams, and I was there for a while, right? I liked Keller Williams when I was there. Keller Williams claims to be the biggest real estate company in the world, more agents, more transactions, more everything. RE/MAX says we're the biggest real estate agency in the world, right? And who knows, right? Who knows? We don't know what Keller Williams market cap is because it's a privately held company, right? So we don't know. But we do know what RE/MAX is. And this is from the RE/MAX website. They are, there's their stock ticker. They have 120,000 agents in over 100 countries and territories. Their market capitalization is 674 million, right? Remember, Realty was 1.5 billion, worth a whole lot more than RE/MAX. Then let's look at EXP World Holdings, which is the stock that we get at EXP. It's the cloud-based brokerage. There's commercial, there's residential. They have express offers, which is this, you can make an offer, a direct buy. There's Showcase IDX, there's Frame, a 3D meeting space, there's Verbella. All of that The market capitalization of EXP, this is the cloud-based brokerage that doesn't have the brick and mortar locations, is 4.42 billion with a B. So just to recap, Realogy, with that huge group of offices, is worth 1.51 billion. The market capitalization of Remax is 674.18 million. But EXP World Holdings, the cloud-based company, is 4.42 billion. In other words, we are 3.5 times bigger, worth more in market capitalization than Realogy. And Realogy owns, let me go through that list again, Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Gardens, ERA. They also own the Cochran Group, Zip Realty, Klein Realty, but the cloud-based company is worth a lot more. Why? Well, first of all, EXP has a global footprint. We've opened up in India recently, in Australia, in South Africa, Portugal, France. It's growing internationally, and real estate is an international market. We're also, because we're a cloud-based company, have shown phenomenal growth in the last year because, well, there was a pandemic. And we were the only major cloud-based company that in real estate at the time. Our agent count by the end of the third quarter had increased 56%. 56%. Our transaction size by the third quarter was up 95%. The volume was up 112%. Revenues has gone up by 100%. Our stock is doing very, very well, as you can see by, this is one reason our market capitalization is so high, because our profit has grown 103%. And again, there are stock options if you work at EXP. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about where do real estate agents get their business and what are they spending money on and that sort of stuff. So this is from the 2020 profile of home buyers and sellers from the National Association of Realtors. And they asked the question, how agents find buyers. Actually, they asked buyers, how did you find your agent? Notice at the top here that referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative, 40%. So 40% of the buyers found their agent because this is something we call sphere of influence. Use the agent before is 13%. Personal contact, that means the agent reached out to them, about 4%. But 40% of the buyers had knew or was referred referred. What's important to buyers? Notice when they asked them, why did you pick the agent? 21% because the agent was honest and trustworthy, 18% because of the experience, reputation, 15%, family member, 13%. But look up here in the top left, their association with a particular firm, 1%. Does it matter which real estate company you work for in terms of your ability to get clients? Do clients care? Right? Do buyers care whether or not you're at EXP or Century 21 or Keller Williams or real estate? Do they care? And the answer is no, they don't really care, right? Not an important factor. How about sellers? 41% of sellers were referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative, or 26% had used the agent before. Personal contact by agent was only 4%. Referrals from other brokers. Now, this is the reason why having an international company, a company that's all over the United States, getting referrals works just as well. You get as many leads from that as perhaps as by making personal contact, which would mean calling people, door knocking, and stuff like that. What's important to sellers is the agent's affiliation with a particular firm a big deal? The answer is no. 1% of the sellers said they picked their agent because they worked at a particular firm. They don't, buyers and sellers don't work with companies, they work with individual agents. Generally, they don't care what the company is. Now, the National Association of Realtors also put out a member profile, which shows a little bit about how much money, and this was asking agents, how much money do you make? Kind of a question. Now, gross personal income, about 22% of all the agents said they made less than $10,000. Remember, there are a lot of people that are doing this sort of as a hobby, right? You understand? They're just got their license. They're not really working very hard at the real estate business. And if it was in the first 2 years, it's actually much higher. But as you can see, as people have been in the business longer, their income goes up. For example, 50 to 100,000, about a third of all of the people that have been in it for 16 or more years. But you can see even 23% of the people were making that much. Now, this is a national number, and you need to understand that nationally, most homes sell for around 300,000. That's around where the median price is. California, it's about 700,000. Silicon Valley, 1.3, 1.4 million. In terms of demographics, the part of this that I wanted to highlight is whether or not, how many people are selling real estate full-time versus hobby or part-time. Real estate is the only occupation, 73%. But is it the primary source of income? Only a little less than half of the people that are in real estate were doing it full time. I'm the breadwinner, right, in the house. Now, that has an effect on how much people are making when you look at averages, because there are a lot of people that are really not as serious. Number of transaction sides by experience. This gives us a little better idea because we can translate that into our market. People that have been in the business 2 years or less, 21% didn't do anything. 1 to 5 transactions was 42%, 6 to 10, 18%, 6 to 10. Now remember, a typical commission in our market is 20 to 25,000. As they are in the business a little bit longer, 3 to 5 years, notice that we have, how about this? 19% of the people are doing 21 to 50 transactions. Just so you know, if you sold $1 million houses and you sold 40 $1 million houses, your gross commission income would be about $1 million in Silicon Valley. As the people have been in the business longer, you can start to see that the number of people doing serious number of transactions grows. 28% are doing 21 to 50 transactions. And I guess after 16 years, some people are slowing down a little bit. But you can see that as people, I've known agents, by the way, that have made $500,000 their first year in real estate. Right? I've known several people that have done that. But if you're looking at the grind, like starting a business, it sometimes takes a little while for it to start to build and you to start to make, a lot more money. Business expenses, how much does it cost to be in real estate? Well, that varies. There's a 3%. If we look over here at the last column, this is sort of the summary, the average or median expenses annually was about $5,000. Right, that means they're paying the board and the MLS and their marketing and things like that. If we're looking at a large group, there's a large group of people that are spending between $1,000 to $2,500. As all of this is including being a member of the Association of Realtors, marketing materials, advertising, the multiple listing service, all of that kind of stuff. And so it gives you an idea. Some agents are spending a lot more money. However, the reason they're doing it has to do with their volume. And this I thought was a very interesting chart because what it shows is, and it sort of goes down like this. As you look at people that are making $150,000 or more, you can see that they're typically, let me do it this way. So people making 100 to 150, notice how they have a lot of expenses compared even to people that are making more. And there's a lot of expenses sort of in this area. So as real estate agents become more successful and they invest some of their commissions into marketing and advertising, their volume generally goes up a lot. But you reach a point where you can cut back, which is what you're seeing in some of these numbers, where you actually could be spending less money because you're getting repeat and referral business, right? That starts to kick in over time. So there's actually a connection between the amount of money agents are making and the amount of expenses they're making at the beginning. What else? What about teams? Should you join one? 70% of the real estate agents aren't on a team. Why would you want to join a team? New agents want to join teams because they want to get leads, they want to help with the transaction, they want to be shadowing people, although that's not a real thing, and open houses, which we're not really doing right now. Why does the team want you to join? And the answer is, remember that 40% of the transactions come from people's sphere of influence. They want your sphere of influence. So what they want you to do is to give them all of the people that you know so they can tell them that you're on their team and they can actually be marketing to your team, to your sphere of influence. They're going to have you make phone calls. They buy leads off of the internet. You spend a lot of time calling people. You do grunt work, and all the branding belongs to the team. Do you need to actually have an office? Right now, because of the pandemic, we're not really going into offices. But historically, why were there physical brick and mortar offices? Well, to hold meetings with potential buyers and sellers. We're doing that with Zoom and Google Meet and things like that. Meetings to sign contracts, that's all being done electronically. Showing and discussing listings virtually is how we do that. Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meet, that sort of stuff. Working with other agents and brokers, that's also being done remotely now. In company meetings, we are doing that remotely. The computer, you don't need a fancy computer to sell real estate. A Chromebook, something that is a browser in the box would work. And then some agents, maybe for printing, right? I want to print stuff. I have a inkjet all-in-one, cost under $200, a little over $100, prints envelopes. We don't do a lot of printing, right? That's really not that much of a thing. So if you were in a cloud brokerage, where would you meet clients? Well, right now, all that's being done virtually. If it's a seller, we always meet them at the property anyhow. And buyers, this is assuming that, we're not in, social distancing as much and these things are open again, but coffee shops, Starbucks, things like that, offices of the lenders, title and escrow companies, there's a lot of places to do it. If you come into the real estate office, who are you going to meet? Let's say you go to a brick and mortar. Now, I just want to say that there are a lot of nice real estate agents, and I'm not being overly cynical, hopefully, but these are some of the people that you need to look out for. There's a group called the 10 to 2 shift. And what the 10 to 2 shift is, there's people that show up at the real estate office at 10 o'clock in the morning. They chat, have coffee with the other agents, go to lunch, come back from lunch, chat a little bit more, and by 2 o'clock they've left. Why are they doing this? Because they're not really serious, right? When somebody says, what do? They could say, I'm a real estate agent. Oh, great. They go to the office every day. Oh, yeah, I'm working. Then there are the enemy. And what I mean by the enemy is sometimes when you're a new agent, you walk into a real estate office, you'll see people looking at you sort of like you have leprosy or something. And what's going on is they see you as the enemy, right? Because in their view, there isn't enough real estate business for them. And, here you are showing up and they don't need more competition. They just wish you would go away. Others, there's the shark. And what the shark does is they'll see you and say, oh, it's a new agent, come over and smile and talk to you. And what they want you to do, they'll say, hey, we could work together. I could help you with some of your transactions. It'll be great. We could be a team, right? Why are they doing this? Because they also know that 40% of the real estate business comes from people's sphere of influence. And they think you're going to have 1 or 2 transactions and they're going to get half. They're going to get half by partnering with you. And then there's people there recruiting the team. I've already talked about that a little bit. But not all teams are created equal. At EXP, I have a production team where you brand yourself, you're encouraged to outgrow the team. You don't have to become a telemarketer. You receive training and support. We can talk more about that if you're interested later. So how do you get started in real estate? Well, there are 3 things you have to do. One is you have to complete 3 college level courses in real estate. Don't have to go to college though to do that. 2, pass an exam, and 3, apply for the license. Before you can take the state exam, you have to have a course in real estate principles, a course in real estate practice, and an elective. The elective can come from anything on this list. Our package uses legal aspects of real estate because that's the one you'll be asked the most about on the state exam. But if you have accounting, economics, or business law, that one of those could substitute for the elective course, but you probably still want to go through legal aspects. It's included, it doesn't cost any different. The college level options, our college level program is done through an online college level course, where once you've enrolled and you log in and you click on start the course, then a timer starts ticking, and after 18 days, you're eligible to take the final exam. You don't have to take the final exam in 18 days, but you could take the final exam in 18 days. And the final exams for the 3 college level courses are online final exams. You can take them at home, and they're an open book test. Let me cover that one more time. The final exams for the 3 college level courses are online, at home, open book. You can cheat as much as you want to. Final exams, you can cheat as much as you want to. They give you 3 hours to get 75 out of 100 questions right. Did I mention that this is an open book test? The reason they make you wait 18 days to take the final exam is because you could pass right now. If we gave you the book and an internet connection in 3 hours, you could look up 75 answers in 3 hours, just starting cold right now. That's why they make you wait 18 days. Once you've done the 3 college courses, you now can go take the state exam. It's 150 multiple guess, multiple choice, A, B, C, D, pick the best answer kind of questions, no essays, no true false, no fill in the blanks. You need to get a score of 70% or better to pass, which if you think about it, doesn't sound like a very high score, right? If your brain surgeon told you that they passed the brain surgeon's exam by getting 70% of the questions right, that wouldn't sound very good, because they missed more than 1 out of every 4 questions they were asked about the subject of brain surgery. That doesn't sound very good. But even though this passing score isn't very high, over half the people that take the real estate exam fail it. And all of them, by the way, have gone through the 3 online open book, cheat as much as you want to, college level courses, which means that doing the college courses does not mean you're going to get a real estate license. What I do is I also teach people, in addition to providing the college level materials, I also teach people how to pass the exam. The classes are on Wednesday night from 6:30 to 8:45. They're all virtual webinar live broadcasts and recorded. They're in a rotating schedule. So if next week is number 1, then it's 2 and 3. And at the end of the cycle, it just continues again. You can start with any class. You can take them in any order. You can repeat them as often as you can stand it. There are 12 live classes. You get the investment in the whole program is $398. It includes the 12 classes, video replays, a course outline, an extensive practice testing program that includes the college level courses you need, and a Saturday cram class called an exam workshop. So my website is called dreclass.com. I have a really high pass rate. Virtually everyone who goes through the course passes the exam on the first try. I encourage you to come and take a free guest lesson. Try one, no cost or obligation, see if you like it. I have a placement program to help you find an office to work with once you've graduated. And if you join my team, I have a 100% tuition rebate program on your first closing. I'll throw in an extra $398. How long does it take to get a real estate license? Right now, a long time, because of COVID-19, the state was giving tests and they stopped giving tests. You should really think it's going to be about 6 months, right? Under the best of circumstances, under a normal time, it would take 4 months to get a license, to go through the college courses, the license preparation, and to take and pass the exam. Right now, it's taking longer because they're not giving tests as often. Hopefully that'll change soon. I have an apprentice program for people that want to get started early. You get access to coaching, doesn't cost anything. You can get a guest pass to see about the training in EXP World, and you can be a finder and receive finder's fees. What does all of this cost just to get into real estate and to get a license? So the preparation in the college level courses is $398. The exam and license is going to be about $305 plus $75 for fingerprints, $778. Now, if you're going to be a referral agent and not a member of the board of realtors, you could stop right there, $778. If you're going to join the Board of Realtors and the multiple listing service, you can see these are annual fees, $675 for the Board of Realtors every year, $845 for the multiple listing service, and that could vary depending on where you are. The license is good for 4 years, and every 4 years you have to do 45 hours of continuing education to renew it. It doesn't cost that much to do. That's how to get a hold of us. If you have any questions, if you just reach out to us, you're all going to get a follow-up email anyhow. And I have a calendar link if you'd like to talk to me individually. If you've got questions, just reach out to us. Because of the length of this class, I don't have time to go through a lot of questions, but I'm happy to talk to you individually. What you might want to do next is check out a free class, right? And the way you would do that, this is a little bit about my Yelp reviews. I got really good Yelp reviews. If you go to my website, which is dreclass.com, you'll see that there's a button that says free guest lesson. And if you click on that button and fill out the form, you can go to the next class Wednesday night. If you're ready to get started and I don't need another class, I just want to sign up now, you would click on the sign up now button. It's $398. That's all you need. It includes the live classes, the college level courses, the Saturday workshop, the practice testing program. All of those goodies are all included. And that brings us to an end of our presentation. Any questions, you're going to get a follow-up email. Just reach out to us. I'd be happy to make an appointment and talk to you anytime, answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much for joining this evening. I would look forward to seeing you in class.